Mr. Tom Carper, as always, we thank you for joining us. The big news from the end of 2013 is the passage of a budget. Once everyone got done, you sort of have to scratch your head and say, why was this so difficult?
Well, we have a huge budget deficit. It's down from about $1.4 trillion 4 years ago to a little less than half that today, but it's still big. Democratic, in the Senate, there were Democrats in majority. Our deficit reduction plan for the next 10 years called for half of the deficit reduction to come from spending cuts, half of the deficit reduction to come from revenues. And the Republican spending plan in the House called for all the deficit reduction to come on the spending side, not so much on the defense spending, but on basically the rest of the government, and no revenues. So just two very different approaches. If you go back to 1997, when Bill Clinton was president, we had a Republican-controlled House and Senate, we had a Democratic president, and we had a budget deficit. And what they came up with was I call it a 50-50 plan. 50% of the deficit reduction was on the spending side, 50% on the revenue side. We, as Democrats, think that's a pretty good approach. It worked then. We had 4 balanced budgets in a row. We think it would be a good approach today. But there's just a dramatic difference in how we should go about deficit reduction. So in order to, what we had to do was find things that we could agree on. And what we agreed on in the end was a modest plan. It's modest deficit reduction, but it continues to the progress that was been made. I think the most important thing was actually we're able to come to an agreement, which is not something we've been able to do for a number of years. And now we can pass appropriations bills and that sort of reflect what the underlying budget calls for.
Well, that's awesome. But tell us, will we see another government shutdown since the debt ceiling issue is up for debate very soon?
I think our Republican friends who shut down the government when Bill Clinton was president in '95 and shut it down again this last fall, I think they realize that they do so at their own peril. That it's a hugely expensive thing to shut down a government, start up again. It's very wasteful. It's demoralizing for federal employees and, frankly, for taxpayers. I think Republicans saw that the reaction in the polls was not very good for them. I think they've learned a lesson. I don't think we'll see that happen again.
Okay, hopefully not. The next item up for debate is the Farm Bill. Are food stamps still tied to that? So many Delawareans are connected to this, so I know that's a big deal.
Sure. It's a kind of an interesting marriage. It's been around for a long time. The Farm Bill is not just programs that deal with farmers and agriculture, but also nutrition programs for a lot of people who have low incomes. And there are two significant changes in the if you will, the Farm Bill for the next 4, 5, 6 years. And one of those is the way that we provide support for farmers. And we move away from like direct payments. Let's say you're raising a crop or thinking about raising crop, and up until now you've been able to get, in many cases, a direct payment from the federal government to help underwrite your costs. We're moving away from that direct payment system to what we call crop insurance. So if you want to, as a farmer, you want to protect yourself against drought or heavy rains and that kind of thing, or bad weather, then you could buy crop insurance. And if your crop is bad, then the insurance kicks in, just like all kinds of insurance. The crop insurance is subsidized by the federal government, so in order to incentivize farmers to take advantage of it. But it's a very different approach to providing support for our ag community. Our ag economy has been very strong in the last couple of years. We think this is a good time to make this transition. Farmers are interested in doing what they want to do. I think it helps for the taxpayers as well. The Farm Bill that has passed the Senate that we're trying to get the House to come to agreement with us on would reduce the deficit over the next 10 years by $24 billion. Some of that deficit reduction comes out of the food stamp program. We call it program integrity, to make sure that people aren't cheating or taking advantage of the government to get these, we used to call them food stamps, but it's now called a SNAP, S-N-A-P, SNAP program.
So they are still connected?
They're two still joined together, still an unlikely marriage, but the agricultural programs and nutrition programs for low-income families. All
right, well, let's talk about Bitcoin.
Why?
What is that?
Well, how would I know? About 6 months, what I knew only 6 weeks ago, what I knew about Bitcoins would fit in a small thimble. But my youngest boy, he's out of college and out in the workforce today, but when he was a kid in high school, even in college, he loved to play these video games, and they used to do competition with, you could have like 1,000 people, 10,000 people in the same competition in a video game. I think it was called Warcraft, the World of Warcraft, something like that. And they could gather currency from as part of this competition, and the currency could be used to buy things. And I think they call the currency gold. That is a virtual currency, and it's not a currency that's issued by a federal government or the government of a country or any country, but it does have value, and it can be used to actually buy things. Bitcoin is a similar kind of thing, although it's used more internationally. It's a virtual currency. It's not backed by the full faith and credit of our government or any other government, but it can be used for financial transactions, and not to buy anything, but for merchants that are willing to take it, they can. It's not a physical coin or a physical currency, but it's what's called a virtual currency. And it's a new sort of, it's not really entirely new, but it's new to most people. It's been around for virtual currencies have been around for 10, 20 years. But in this case, if you look at, it's a new technology, and it actually has some advantages to it. Among the advantages is people in different countries can use it. You don't have to get change from pounds to francs or to marks or to dollars, but it can be used internationally as a one currency, and it can be used to lower the cost of transactions. However, it has a bad side too. And the bad side is it's in the deep end of it can set up spending and things in the deep end of the dark end of the internet that include child pornography, money laundering, all kinds of drug transactions. So while there's a lot, I think, some encouraging positive stuff that can be done, it has to be monitored very closely, law enforcement, that kind of thing.
Okay, well, we'll definitely touch on that the next time you sit down with us. And as always, we enjoy when you sit down. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nikki.